Hi everyone, this is Andrew Prima, Ukrainian American, reporting from Kiev. In today's podcast, week 62 of war in Ukraine, and this is the first week of May 2023. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about the week of drone wars in Ukraine and in Russia. Russia massively attacks Ukraine. In response, Ukraine damages Russia's infrastructure. We're also going to talk about how the head of Russian private group Wagner decided to withdraw from the Bakhmut area. Drone attack. On May 4th, during the night, Russia attacked Ukraine with 24 Iranian Shahid kamikaze drones. The drones hit a university campus in the Black Sea of Odessa and attacked the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, for the third time in 4 days. Air defense forces destroyed 18 drones, as well as a reconnaissance drone. They attacked from the north, the Bryansk region, and from the south, the eastern coast of the Sea of Azov. Combat work was conducted in the northern, central, and southern regions of Ukraine. Anti aircraft missile weapons, aviation, and mobile fire groups were used in the areas of responsibility of the Southern Central Air Commands. At night, an air alert was declared in several regions of Ukraine, which lasted for several hours. In Kiev, the city administration said that missiles, probably ballistic ones, had also been used in the attack, but were shut down along with all the drones over the capital. Ballistic missiles are difficult to shoot down, and their downing could indicate Ukraine used sophisticated Western supplied air defense systems against them. Actually, even the US confirmed that was the first case in the history when the ballistic missiles were shut down. Kiev authorities said enemy aerial objects had been downed over three districts in the capital center and the debris had fallen around 10 buildings. As a result of the fallen debris, parked cars and the road surface were partially damaged. In total, air defense shot down 18 of 24 kamikaze drones in the pre dawn attack. Of 50 drones fired at Odessa, and 12 were downed, but unfortunately, three struck a university campus, the Southern Military Command said. So, I believe everyone saw the drone attack on Kremlin. Who actually did that? By now, most of you will see in the dramatic images and videos that came out of Russia this week. An object can be seen flying toward the Kremlin Senate building. There is an explosion. Black smoke, the smoke shows up from the scene. An attempt to assassinate the Russian dictator seems unlikely. President Putin doesn't have a private apartment in Kremlin, but his main residence is 32 or approximately 20 miles away. Russia probably staged the attack on the Kremlin itself, trying to bring the war closer to the domestic Russian audience and create conditions for a wider mobilization of society. Analysts of the Institute of the Study of War are convinced. In their report, based on the results of May 4th, they named several signs that the drone strike, which Moscow accused Ukraine of, could have been carried out by Russia itself and carefully staged. First, the Russian authorities have recently taken steps to strengthen Russia's air defense capabilities, particularly within Moscow itself. Therefore, it's extremely unlikely that two drones could penetrate several layers of air defense and blow up or be shot down just above the Kremlin itself, and in a way that guaranteed impressive angles, deftly captured by the camera. Previously, verified images from January 2023 showed that Russian authorities are deploying Panzer air defense systems near Moscow to create several air defense circles around the city. Therefore, a strike that would not be able to detect and destroy such air defense equipment, and also aimed at such an important target at the Senate Palace of Kremlin, would be a significant shame for Russia. Second, the Kremlin's immediate, concerted, and coordinated response to the incident indicates that the attack was prepared domestically, so that expected political consequences would outweigh the shame inflicted on Moscow if the attack is considered allegedly Ukrainian, as already Russian Federation claims. Whereas after the Kremlin's accusations, the official response of Russian officials very quickly railed around the accusation. However, if the drone attack had not been organized by the Russia, it would it would have been a surprise, and Russia's officials' response would likely have been much more disorganized at first. In particular, the Kremlin has previously failed to provide a timely and consistent information response to other military humiliations that were not of its own making. ICW believes that Russia staged this incident shortly before Victory Day on May 9th to present the war to its domestic audience as an existential one. The Kremlin could use the strike to justify either canceling or further curtailing May 9th celebrations, that is, taking actions that would likely bolster Moscow informational efforts to portray the war in Ukraine as an alleged direct threat to Russia's observance of important historical events. So, Institute of Study of War has previously warned that Russia is taking a number of measures to present the war in Ukraine as existential and to prepare Russian society for wider mobilization. Ukrainian drones, in response, attacked Russian infrastructure facilities. A drone attack attacked a petroleum plant in the Rostov region, reported Russian mass media. On the night of Thursday, May 4th, a drone attacked a petroleum product plant in Rostov region. According to the publication Baza, the Ukrainian drone crashed in the structures of the intershop floor of the oil production plant, which was under construction. After the collision, the drone exploded and the fire started. The authorities of the region reported that there were no casualties as a result of the incident. In recent days, in various regions of the Russian Federation, cases of fires at the refinery plants have become more frequent. Before that, on the night of May 3rd, a serious fire broke out at an oil storage near the Russian port of Taman. It was assigned the highest level of complexity. The fire occurred in the village of Volna, approximately 15 kilometers from the illegally built Crimean bridge, the Kerch Bridge, which connects the Taman Peninsula with Kerch. The propaganda agency TASS, citing sources in the emergency services, reported that the cause of the fire was the fall of the drone. The governor of the Krasnodar region of the Russian Federation said that the tank with oil products is on fire in the village in the Timruk region or Taman Peninsula. The port of Taman is located next to it, and the city of Taman is nearby. As you know, all these oil refinery facilities are being used by Russian Federation to supply the oil products to the Russian army to the front lines. So the Kondrativ claims that there were no victims and the residents of the village are not in danger, but the fire has been assigned to the highest degree of complexity. The area of the fire at the oil depot near the port of Taman reached 1,200 square meters. 5 fire engines had to be used to extinguish it. The cause of the fire was called by the Ukrainian drone attack. Traffic at the Crimean Bridge was stopped for several hours in the afternoon, allegedly for the special equipment to pass. Russian mass media also reported that the drones attacked a military airfield in the Bryansk region and in the St. Petersburg region, causing fire at the airfield. Still, the Ukrainian drone army has been expanding and doing lots of damage to the Russian terrorist state. Russia truly undermined the Ukraine drone army, which is growing quickly. Ukrainian commanders understand that we cannot win the war in the air without a sufficient number of fighter jets, but we can decrease Russian air dominance with a wide variety of military drones and well trained operators at a lower cost. For example, a Russian fighter jet that usually used by Ukraine forces as well cost around 25 to 30 million dollars, and Ukrainian kamikaze drones prices start around 20 $30,000 depending on the drone type, warhead, and other specifications. Instead of spending $30 million on the fighter jet, Ukraine can launch hundreds of such drones, which are not easy to spot and shut down compared to plane without risking a pilot's death. As you have probably taken notice, that Ukrainian drone army has had lots of success targeting the Russian army bases and energy infrastructure facilities responsible for supporting fuel and ammunition to the Russian army. Ukrainian drones destroyed a fuel depot in Crimea on Saturday, disrupting military logistics there. The oil depot in Sevastopol supplied fuel to Russia's Black Sea Fleet, which has been responsible for many missile strikes on Ukrainian cities. The large scale fire destroyed 10 fuel tanks with a total capacity estimated by Ukrainian intelligence at about 40,000 tons. Also, a Ukrainian drone attacked military facilities in the Russian town of Bryansk this weekend, which is only 100 miles or 170 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Moreover, according to the Russian officials, Ukraine drones attacked an oil pipeline in Bryansk region in March. According to many military experts, a well developed military supply chain is one of the key factors in winning the war. As you might have noticed lately, the head of the Russian private military company, Wagner Group, has complained that the Russian government is not supplying ammunition and supply for these units, not only for the lack of it, but also due to supply chain disruption by Ukrainian drones. That is why, by destroying the invader supply chain with our drone army, we are exhausting the enemy's capabilities and bringing the start of Ukraine offensive closer. So Wagner had Prigozhin made several statements about withdrawing from the Bakhmut region. So the statement of the leader of Wagner's private military company is very interesting, as he announced that his terrorists will leave Bakhmut from the Donetsk region from May 10th if they don't get enough ammunition. We heard many times how he commented on the situation in Bakhmut, how he said during the last month that it was thanks to Wagner's group and him personally that the front was holding. If they left, everything would fall apart. He also stated that the Ministry of Defense and the regular Russian army do absolutely nothing. On the contrary, they don't give the Wagners ammunition. They cut off Prigozhin's phone that he can't call anywhere. He was hyperactive in the Russian propaganda media space, and obviously he was allowed to do it. The Kremlin did it with such an aim that if the situation in Bakhmut direction really deteriorates, the Russian army will be forced to leave. Then the main culprit for this will be the one who spoke the most about it. That is Prigozhin himself, who said that this was only his personal merit and the merit of these mercenaries from Wagner. Prigozhin definitely understood the game, and he tries to create conditions to avoid this trap. His statement that they will leave and be replaced by the Russian regular army means that in the end everything will fall apart. And Prigozhin doesn't want to be there. Plus, he pelted with debris that, that will fill it up. This is a standard strategy, a standard approach of Putin himself to ensure that none of the groups in his environment have sufficient resources to claim either power or some critical influence in their decision making system. Therefore, it is an approach of disintegration of these groups among themselves, an approach of permanent struggle between them, which ultimately controlled by the dictator. The latest news from the aggressor state definitely are not encouraging those of Russian population who support the war in Ukraine. They see not only the lack of success at the front lines, but also political games and drama undermining the professionalism of the Russian army. The head of the Wagner private group, Prigozhin, who is hated by the Russian army and its leaders, has announced his army finally withdrawn from the Bakhmut region. Prigozhin's latest statements came a few days ago when he posted a video of himself walking among his dead fighters' bodies and said Wagner's casualties were growing in geometrical progression every day because of the lack of ammunition. He addressed this issue to the top military commanders, the two generals, Shoigu and Gerasimov. Hey, where is the ammunition? He said. They came here as volunteers and died for you to fatten yourself in your mahogany offices, Prigozhin said. As a result, Putin immediately asked the Chechen leader Kadyrov to take the lead and send his people to the front lines to replace Wagner troops. Also, it is well known that the Russian army also hates the Chechen leader and his army for several reasons, but most of all by the Federal Security Service, FSB. So Prigozhin understands that with the latest failure to recruit more soldiers for his army, and after losing many of his troops in Ukraine, his power is diminishing. Soon, nobody will even ask his opinion in Kremlin. He is not trying to save his soldiers. He wants to keep his power. He knows very well the war is most likely be lost and Putin will not last much longer and he needs to stay influential and powerful. Besides the lack of success in Bakhmut, the Russian state authorities continue to evacuate from Zaporizhia region and the residents are evacuated from the front lines in annexed region due to the coming Ukrainian counteroffensive and constant artillery fire. Moreover, Crimean citizens couldn't leave the peninsula this weekend due to the bridge being closed. There was a several mile long line of cars with people who were hoping to cross the Kerch bridge back to Russia. Yesterday, Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Defense Vladimir Gavrilov said, "We will start our counteroffensive soon. When and where, it doesn't really matter. Russia will panic, and you will see even more panic very soon. They still don't understand that their propaganda shows a false picture of what is happening on the ground. This war will be won on the ground, not on TV screens or the internet." With all the recent events, it's obvious the Russian system is step by step and slowly falling apart. Most likely, we might witness the fall of the longest service dictator of Russia. Thank you for listening. If you like my podcast, please share with your friends.